What is going on, you guys? Gerardo here, creator of LookIntoHex.com, the best quantitative and statistical analysis and charts of HEX in the world. Now, why I'm here today making this video is because HEX is currently sitting at around 20 cents, give or take a penny. And just about a year ago, it was sitting 100 times lower. That's 10,000% gains in a year. And if you zoom out to the entire chart, you look at the best opportunity for entry and the best opportunity for exit, we're talking about 1,000,000% gains in less than 2 years. So regardless of why people tell you they're in cryptocurrency, whether it's for the world currency or bank the unbanked or whatever narrative they fall for, the truth is the majority of people are in it to change their lives financially. And if they're not, they're kind of missing the point, because cryptocurrency has appreciated faster and harder than any other asset that I've seen in history. Bitcoin went from a penny to $70,000 almost, right? $69,000. Name anything else that went up 690 million% in 10 years-ish, right? Ethereum went from 30 pennies in their pre-sale all the way to $4,500 recently. So we're talking over 1,000,000% gains. Now, those 1,000,000% gains that it took Ethereum, what was it, like 2.5 years to make, HEX did in less than 2 years. Is it over? I mean, historically speaking, even after these 75, 80, 85, 90, 95% dips, cryptocurrencies make new all-time highs, specifically ones that have product market fit and that have a strong enough reason to actually buy and hold. Now, the reason within HEX is it's an evergreen pitch, because it's just earn yield. It's your most basic, like, why did no one make this sooner type of protocol. It is trustless yield on Ethereum. It's the safest, most you control your own money way of actually earning yield. And not only that, not only do you get yield determined on how many people are staked, but you also get the volatility that you wouldn't get in a traditional CD or bond. So you have these gains multiply by each other, literally, where you have some people have made over 1,000,000% gains because they were staked. So it's a great protocol, right? It incentivizes and actually pays the inflation to those who uphold the price, which is the opposite of what Bitcoin does, where Bitcoin pays it to miners who have to sell that Bitcoin to pay for the electricity to mine the Bitcoin. And so you have this cost of electricity, whereas with staking HEX, you don't have this type of overhead. So you can literally just press a few buttons, stake your HEX, and just chill. All right, stake and chill is a motto a lot of HEXians like to use. Now, that's all amazing and all, 10,000x gains, 1,000,000% in 2 years, but are you too late? Well, you tell me, right? Were you too late with Bitcoin when it had done its 1,000,000% gains already? What is that? 10,000x from a penny. $100, right? Were you late to Bitcoin when it was $100 or 1,000 or 10,000? No, you still had life-changing gains to be had there potentially. And even then, if you were to say, all right, fine, HEX has already gone up a lot, I think I'd rather invest in something newer, then guess what? PulseChain.com, PulseX.com. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, so let's touch on what is a core principle of business, and that's not a core principle, but rather a very strong methodology to scale your business, is that of vertical integration. So if Tesla sells cars, it's smart of them to also sell insurance. They do. It's vertical integration. It's smart because you already have the prospect, you already have the lead, the customer who has to buy that other thing anyway if they're buying something from you. And so they might as well be within that walled garden, so to speak, and interact within a curated ecosystem, a personalized curated ecosystem. And that's really what we're doing, right? Because Ethereum, the gas fees are absolutely insane. I've paid way too much to end stakes. Luckily for me, HEX went up so much that these stakes are profitable even after these atrocious Ethereum gas fees. But if you look at, right, it's important to look at the failure modes of certain projects, of certain protocols. And truly, one of the few failure modes, in my opinion, of HEX as a protocol is not even HEX itself. It's Ethereum, because it's the layer 1 protocol that it's built on. And so it's a constantly moving ground. If the ground is moving beneath you, that's something you can't necessarily control. And so you have these atrocious fees that cause something as simple as a transfer to be double-digit dollars, something as simple as a Uniswap swap to be $100, $200, absolutely ridiculous. Some end stakes are $700, $1,000, $700 or $1,000. I've seen as high as $2,000, $3,000 to end one stake. Absolutely ridiculous. Now we're forking Ethereum, right? Just as should happen when a distributed protocol that you can't call a manager of, right? Let me talk to your manager. These gas fees are too high. You can't do that with the blockchain. The whole point of blockchain, of cryptocurrency, is to get rid of these centralized entities, these brokers, these middlemen, these banks, right? We're trying to replace them over time with just distributed infrastructure that is actually censorship resistant. So you can actually have this freedom of speech, which is freedom of spending your money with merchants, whoever you choose to do a business with, right? Whoever you choose to exchange with, you should be able to do that. So we are slowly replacing them. And that's the whole reason for using crypto in the first place, right? Is to distribute this infrastructure and make our transactions resistant to censorship. Now, I know I went on this long tangent, and that is to say that in a distributed network like that, if the protocol becomes something you don't like and there's enough consensus to branch off, that is what a fork is, right? Just the same way Ethereum Classic is just a version of Ethereum where they decided to let the hacker from the DAO hack keep his money. And Ethereum itself, ETH ticker, is the one where the hacker didn't get to keep his money. Which was more valuable? The one that had, the higher moral ground, so to speak. And so that's sort of what's happening right now with PulseChain, where Pulse is going to be lower fees, it's going to be faster, and it's going to do things differently. And that's really the point, right? You see this with countries where they have civil wars and they separate. This is peaceful, right? PulseChain it's not trying to have war here. It's just trying to leave. And guess what, Ethereum? We're leaving, right? Because you are unusable at this point for the average person. For onboarding, it's absolutely ridiculous. So you will have a whole new ecosystem, which is known as PulseChain. So it's a new layer 1. It is a straight fork of Ethereum. It takes the best aspects of Ethereum, the best aspects of Binance Smart Chain, and some new and innovative stuff, like it burns 25% of the fees and it doesn't inflate at all. It is a purely deflationary coin, right? You use validators instead of miners, and you have proof of stake, so that an ERC20 like HEX becomes a PRC20 on PulseChain, and something like HEX is already proof of stake for inflation, but it's only proof of work for transactions, aka consensus, because Ethereum is. So HEX living on PulseChain, you can call it PHEX, you can just call it HEX on Pulse, HEX PRC20 version, will be a fully proof of stake coin. So we are moving towards innovation. We are going towards better things. And not only that, you might ask yourself, well, can you just duplicate the entire Ethereum ecosystem and expect there to be value over there? Expect it to be worth something? Well, I mean, that has happened, right? That has happened in crypto. There is such thing as just printing money out of thin air. I mean, that's kind of what the government already does with the dollar and other fiat currencies. But not only that, there are certain mechanics, certain mechanisms that could push things forward a little bit and actually solidify that as the case. What am I getting at? Well, something like yield farming is very, very popular in DeFi communities, right? People like to sit on their coins, just hold them and get paid to hold, right? It makes sense, right? You're incentivizing what causes the price to go up. It's smart. Incentivizing the only thing that causes cryptos to go up, which is one of their strong and few value propositions. And so staking is popular. Yield farming is popular, where you put your coins and you gain yield on them in some way, whether, again, that's staking, whether it's providing liquidity. And so not only do we have the potentially best store of value and most secure store of value, aka HEX, and potentially you're going to have the best consensus network, general purpose blockchain, aka PulseChain, but we're also going to have PulseX, which will be the most liquid decentralized exchange, automated market maker on PulseChain, and potentially the biggest yield farm project ever, because there will be the ability to bridge in your ERC20s from Ethereum, pair them with their respective PRC20 counterparts, which guess what? You got for free in the world's biggest airdrop. And now that world's biggest airdrop allows you to, with very little to zero risk, other than that of impermanent loss of a liquidity provider, which you get anyways on any AMM, to provide your ERC, bridged in ERC20 and native to Pulse PRC20 counterpart to that coin, gain yield on that. Now the yield of that token, we don't know the name of that token yet. It's an incentive token is what people are calling it currently, LP token, right? Liquidity provision token. But the rates, right? Who chooses the rates? Like what yield people get on which pairs? Well, it's going to be a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is just a contract that, or a set of contracts that allows holders of a certain coin to vote on these rates. So who's going to vote on the yield rates on certain pairs in PulseX? Well, it's going to be PulseX holders. Why? Because they're incentivized to see the most volume go through PulseX. So they're not going to, give good rates to some illiquid scam coin, because that won't bring in volume, right? Point being, PulseX also has some amazing game theory. Like every transaction that goes through PulseX, right? You have it's 0.29%, because 0.3% is industry standard fee for transactions on something like Uniswap. So you do a little better, 0.29% fee for the user. Of that 0.29% fee, 71% of that fee, which is 0.22% of the total transaction, will actually go to the liquidity provider. Awesome. That will be paid in PLS, plus they'll be paid some incentive token. Good for them for providing liquidity. Now, 0.06% of that total transaction, which is about 21% of the fee, is going to go into buying PLSX itself and then burning it. So PulseX holders, their coin goes up via volume and just natural buy pressure. And so that's the reason they have the voting power in this DAO to control interest rates, is because they're incentivized to see a lot of volume, right? And not only that, more volume, not only does it pump PLSX, but every transaction on PulseChain in general will burn PLS. So you have both of these tokens, PLS, PLSX, that will start at a certain value and will only deflate over time. It'll be really cool to see certain dashboards or counters of the supply just going down over time. And if you want to get in on HEX, well, there's just been about an 80% dip, right? We were at 56 cents, currently down at 20 cents. Relatively speaking, could be a buyer's market. Hex.com for that. Now for PulseChain.com, that sacrifice phase was in July and it's currently up so much that I would not recommend actually sacrificing for that now. However, PulseX.com is live right now. The sacrifice phase actually just started a few days ago, and the rate is very, very attractive currently. I hear you get 10,000 PLSX points per every US dollar equivalent you sacrifice, which was the rate for PLS back in July, but is not that anymore. It's about 4,000 times higher. Instead of 10,000, now you get about 2.5 or 2 just pulse per dollar. It's like 40 or 50 cents is the rate now, which is, again, 4,000 or 5,000x. I wouldn't suggest that. But for PulseX, you just go to pulsex.com and you see the instructions there. And it's very attractive. You get your 10,000 PLSX points per every US dollar equivalent. And that rate is valid until January 10th, where it'll go up by 5% every day until February 25th, I believe. And you can still get volume bonuses, meaning if you're a big sacrificer, if you sacrifice the biggest and the most out of everyone else, you get a 2.5x bonus. If you're, smack dab in the middle, you're probably getting like a 1.7 or 1.8x bonus. And if you're the very last guy, the smallest sacrificer, you get a 1x. You don't get the bonus, right? So it's on a linear scale. So bigger is better. Clearly, earlier is better given the rate increase that starts in a few days. And yeah, I mean, if you missed PLS, you can, who knows, maybe this PLSX, you can swap some of it on PulseX for PLS once that mainnet actually goes live, before bridges are opened up to Ethereum and value discovery happens there. So we're fighting for things that matter, guys. We're fighting for our rights as humans, freedom of movement, of assembly, of association, of speech, control over our own physical location and space, not being discriminated by our medical history, right? Being able to not be censored, right? These are all things we are fighting for. These are rights that we should continue fighting for. And I think it would make some of our founding fathers proud. Certain things like HEX, Pulse, and PulseX. So I would highly implore you to go visit these websites. I am Gerardo, once again, creator of LookIntoHex.com, and I will catch you in a future video. Peace.